So when you sew a seam, there's two ways that you can iron the seam. We actually call it pressing. So once you've stitched your seam allowance on any seam, there was one way like this where you can iron the seam all to one side and then overlock down the edge here. So this is the seam. You can see the stitch going down and then the overlocking, and they've been overlocked together and they've been pressed to one side. So the seam looks like this, quite neat. And then we have the other way where the seam is stitched, which is the middle bit, and then you have your seam allowance, which is here, and this has been pressed open, so ironed open, but it's also been overlocked separately, which is done before, and then it's pressed, the seam is pressed open, we call that, and then it looks like this. So the difference in these is usually all garments will be pressed and overlocked. The seam is together. That's normally what happens. But we would usually press the seam open and overlock it like this, where if you're meeting another seam into that, like a triangle point where you might need the seam open to snip into it or anything like that. But 9 times out of 10, the seams are always overlocked together and pressed over to one side. The rule normally is if you're stitching something for around the body, all the seams should really be ironed facing backwards, so your side seams and your front seams would always be facing as if they're going towards the back, and the same with the back, just going into the back like that.